Somewhere in Tokyo right now, a 60-year-old man is sitting at the same desk he sat at when he was 25. Same company, same chair, same window view of the same street. He is not lazy, he is not incompetent. He did everything his country asked. Studied harder than anyone you know, got the job at the right company at the right time, wore the suit, worked the hours, bowed at the right moments to the right people. In 1989, the year he started, Japan was unstoppable. 8 of the world's 10 largest companies were Japanese. Japan's GDP per capita was higher than America's. The Rockefeller Center in New York, an American icon, was owned by the Japanese. The world genuinely believed the 21st century belonged to Tokyo. He believed it too. Then, 1990 arrived. The stock market lost $2 trillion in value. Real estate collapsed. The banks, stuffed with loans nobody could repay, quietly stopped working. And the economy that was supposed to carry his generation to prosperity simply stopped. Not dramatically, not with a single crash that made everything clear, just stopped. Here is the number that should make you genuinely uncomfortable. In 2024, 35 years later, Japanese wages have still not recovered to the levels of 1989, not adjusted for inflation, not in real terms, nominally, in raw numbers, the same. That man at the desk did not lose a year. He did not lose a decade. He lost the entire second half of his working life to a system that broke before he ever got his turn and never once admitted it was broken. His story is not unique. It is the story of millions of people who did everything right in a country doing everything wrong and paid the price in the most invisible currency there is. 35 years of quietly showing up to the same desk, waiting for a morning that never came. 5 reasons why, starting with the one that destroyed an entire generation, before anyone had a name for what was happening to them. In 1993, 4 years after the crash, something happened that had no name yet. Universities still full, students still graduating, young men and women in their early 20s still putting on their best clothes, printing their resumes, walking into interviews with the same hope their parents carried a generation before. The companies looked at them and said no. Not because they were unqualified, because the bubble had burst and the companies, drowning in debt they refused to admit, simply stopped hiring. 1 year, then another, then another. Those graduates, who showed up at exactly the wrong moment in history, never recovered. Japan has a word for them. Freeters, people permanently stuck in part-time work and temporary contracts, not by choice, but because the door to permanent employment closed the year they graduated and never reopened for them specifically. In Japanese corporate culture, your first job defines everything. Salary trajectory, social status, marriage prospects, your entire identity. Miss the window is gone forever. 2 million young Japanese graduated into that closed window between 1993 and 2005. They are now in their 40s and 50s, still on temporary contracts, still no pension building, still one missed paycheck from collapse, still carrying the weight of a single bad year of history that was never their fault. And then there were the ones who did not just fall through the floor economically. They disappeared entirely. Japan calls them Hikikomori, people, mostly young men, who retreated so completely from a society that had no place for them that they stopped leaving their bedrooms. Not for days, not for weeks, for years. The government estimates over 1 million Japanese citizens are living this way right now. 1 million people, inside, silent, invisible, in a country that told them their entire childhood, work hard enough and the system will catch you. The system did not catch them. It did not even notice they had fallen. Drop a comment. Freeter, if you have ever felt like the system you were promised growing up looks nothing like the one you actually live inside, because that feeling, that gap between what was promised and what arrived, is not a personal failure. It has a name. It has a history. Japan invented it 30 years before the rest of the world started feeling it. There is a word in Japan that has no direct translation in English. Karoshi. It means fatalities from overwork, not burnout, not exhaustion, not stress-related illness. It means a loss of life that is literal, physical, and documented, caused by working too many hours for too many years without stopping. Japan recognizes it as a legal cause of loss. Government statistics track it. Families receive compensation. Lawyers specialize in proving it in court. Think about what it takes for a society to reach the point where death from overwork becomes a legal category requiring its own legislation. The Japanese salaryman was once the symbol of a nation's ambition. Dark suit, Packed morning train, briefcase. Face forward, arriving before his boss, leaving after his boss, drinking with colleagues until midnight because leaving early signaled weakness. For decades, this was not seen as suffering. It was seen as devotion. But here is what that devotion actually produced. Japanese productivity, output per hour worked, has been among the lowest in the developed world for 30 years. Lower than America, lower than Germany, lower than France. Countries whose workers leave at 5 and take August off entirely. The Japanese salaryman worked longer hours than almost anyone on Earth and produced less per hour than almost any comparable economy. Not because Japanese people are less capable, because a culture that rewards presence over performance, that promotes the person who stays latest rather than the one who thinks clearest, does not build an innovative economy. It builds an exhausted one, and the young people watching, the ones supposed to inherit this system, made a decision their parents never would have. They refused it, not loudly, not in protest, quietly. The same quiet that runs through everything in Japan. They stopped believing the promise. Marriage rates collapsed. Birth rates followed. In 2023, Japan recorded the lowest number of births since records began. Not because young Japanese people stopped wanting families. Because they looked at the salaryman, they looked at the fritters, they looked at the Hikikomori in the bedroom down the hall, and they decided if this is what devotion costs, they would rather keep the change. In the early 1990s, or right after the crash, Japan's banks had a choice. Admit the truth, write off the bad loans, let the companies that couldn't survive fail. Take the pain quickly, reset, rebuild. Every serious economist said the same thing. Take the pain now. It will hurt, but it will end. Japan chose differently. The banks looked at their books, filled with loans that would never be repaid, and decided to pretend. They kept lending to companies with no real future, just enough money to keep making interest payments so the bank could keep pretending the original loan was healthy. Both sides performing a fiction for each other. Economists gave these companies a name, zombie companies, businesses technically alive, still operating, still employing people, but with no genuine future and no possibility of ever contributing anything real to the economy around them. And here's what zombie companies do to everything else. They do not fail quietly. They actively prevent healthy businesses from succeeding. A young entrepreneur in Tokyo in 1995 with a genuinely good idea could not get a bank loan because the bank's money was already committed to keeping zombies breathing. A productive worker could not join a growing company because growing companies could not compete on price with zombies being artificially subsidized to stay alive. The zombies did not just survive, they crowded out everything that might have replaced them. Here is the number that connects this to your life directly. Japan's stock market peaked in December 1989. It took until 2024, 35 years, to recover to that same level. 35 years. An entire working lifetime. If you had invested your savings at the peak, put your money into what looked like the strongest economy on Earth at its most confident moment, you would have spent your entire career waiting to break even. Not losing everything dramatically, just waiting, quietly, at the same desk. And the cruelest part, the part the salaryman at that desk understands better than any economist, is that nobody ever announced it was over. Nobody declared the dream finished. It just quietly became the rest of his life, while he kept showing up. So here is where Japan stands in 2026. For the first time since 1989, Japan's stock market recovered to its peak. The Nikkei finally closed above the record set the year the bubble burst. Headlines called it historic, a turning point, the end of the lost decades. But here is what those headlines did not say. The salaryman who started in 1989, who believed, who worked, who gave everything the system asked, retires this year. Into a pension system designed for a young growing workforce, a workforce Japan has not had for 30 years. Into a healthcare system under pressure from one of the oldest populations on Earth, the market recovered. The generation did not. And here is the warning Japan is sending to every economy watching. The lost decades were not inevitable. They were choices. Choices to protect the powerful at the expense of the productive. To keep zombie companies breathing instead of letting new ones grow. To reward loyalty over innovation. To ignore the fritters, the Hikikomori. The young people who stopped believing because the promise expired before they were old enough to collect on it. Every one of those choices had a human face. A graduate in 1993 who never got the permanent job. A salaryman who worked himself to the edge of Karoshi for a company that would have let him go the moment numbers required it. A family that stopped at 1 child, or 0, because raising children inside that system simply did not work. Germany built its economy on cheap energy and trusted it would last. Bulgaria trusted its institutions until they hollowed out. China trusted a dream with an expiry date nobody mentioned. Japan trusted a system, and the system worked brilliantly, historically, right up until the morning it stopped, after which it simply kept asking people to show up anyway. We covered Japan's economic mistakes in a previous video. The link is in the I button above. What that video explained in numbers, this one showed in people. Because data tells you what happened. People tell you what it actually cost. If this video made you think about the system you're building your future inside, share it with one person who has never once questioned whether that system was built for them, or simply built to need them. There is a difference, and Japan spent 35 years learning it the hard way. Subscribe for the version of yourself that understands not just what is happening, but what it costs the people living inside it. See you next week.